Today we're going to use n8n to create a Telegram AI agent. One of my students in our Skool community asked how she can create this workflow for a client, and I thought, what better way to give her feedback than creating a demo for her client for free? That way, she learns how to do it, her client gets a demo, and I get a happy student and a YouTube video. Yay! All right, so here's what's going to happen. First, I'm going to explain why it's a good idea to create quick demos for clients. Then, I'm going to create this demo live and explain every single step of the way. And finally, I'm going to test the workflow and see if it works properly. But before we begin, let's just jump a little bit to the future and see a complete demo of the workflow so you know what we are about to create. So, all right, before we finish, can you jot down a couple tasks for next week? Yeah, sure. What do we have? First, create a website update for Coca-Cola, and let's add a few subtasks. First, replace the homepage hero image with the one I created last week. Second, update the pricing page with the latest numbers from the Excel sheet. And finally, test the mobile version for responsiveness. All right, got it. What's the second one? Well, the second task is to prepare a client proposal for Nike and include the updated case study, adjust the pricing section, and add some examples as we discussed. Boom, and now I send it. So we go back to n8n, and as you can see, the workflow is executing. The workflow is done and we got back a response. Let's see it from desktop, and says, I have created the following tasks. It created one task and a second task with a checklist. So let's go to ClickUp and see our two tasks. The second one, which was a simpler one, was prepare a client proposal for Nike. And as you can see, instead of creating a checklist, it added those items inside the task. But for the first one, it did create a checklist because we numbered them, and it says, it has 3 items in the checklist: test the mobile version for responsiveness, updating the pricing page, and replace the homepage hero image with the one created last week. And for all of them, it added a due date, and everything is working fine. Okay, let's think this through. The student basically wants a demo. So I'm going to treat this as if this was an actual client request from a client. And this is something that happens a lot. You're talking with somebody on Upwork or over emails, and before even sometimes even before you get on the first call, they send you like a very quick short message of what it is that they're trying to achieve. And it kind of looks like this. To be fair, this message has been processed by a student who has some experience already with AI automations, so a client wouldn't be as clear as this message. But from my experience, it would be something similar. We would still be able to understand what they want. And what this person is asking for is for a way to record in real life meetings, then transcribe them, export some information, and upload this information in the form of ClickUp tasks. So let's do this. First things first, just to be clear, we want to create a demo, not production. Okay, so this is going to be just a demo. And the reason that this is going to be a demo is because we want to send it to a client first. Okay, so I'm going to treat this as if this was an actual client request. And let's note this down. We will treat this as an actual client request. Smiley face. Let's zoom in a little bit. And if this was a client request, I would need to know 2 things. 1, is it feasible? And 2, how hard is this going to build? So I know how much I'm going to charge the client. Thus, these are the 2 things I need to know. And a bonus, let's make it flashy. It's important for a demo to be flashy. On production, especially when we're talking about automations, on production, On production, sometimes things are not flashy. Things are super boring and nobody cares. So sometimes we don't want on production to be flashy. We want things to be boring, efficient, and without too many moving parts. Problem is, if you don't have moving parts and you don't have flashy elements, it's very hard to convey value on a 1 minute demo. And that's the main reason that we are building this with Telegram. On production, we might not end up using Telegram, but it's very good for a demo. So let's just use it for what it's for, not for what it isn't. Okay, so we have our input, which is going to be Telegram bot. Let me make this smaller. You know what? We don't need the squares. Okay, so our input is going to be the Telegram bot. And we're going to record a message for our whole meeting. So we're going to record a message from Telegram, and then we're going to send this message to n8n. We're going to send this message to n8n, and then we are going to use OpenAI to process it. And finally, we're going to upload to ClickUp. So this is our workflow in a nutshell. This is our workflow, and inside all those little high-level nodes, we're going to have a lot of things to do. We're going to have to do error handling. We're going to have to verify our input. We're going to have to branch our execution to different branches based on what we have to do. We have to create multiple AI agents to process all the information. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. Okay, so let's start. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create a Telegram bot. And the way Telegram authentication works and the way to create bots is you send a message to a Telegram bot called Godfather, and from inside there, you create your own bot. So you have to start the conversation. Let me clear all the other messages before. So you have to start the conversation with the Botfather. I'm gonna explain how to do this in very, very simple steps. First, go to n8n, and on nodes, click Telegram, and on Telegram, under triggers, find where it says on message. On the credentials dropdown, open the dropdown, and we're gonna create another bot. This is one I was already using. Let's create a new one. And we're gonna name this our new, let's name it YouTube bot, okay? And as you can see, we need an access token. Now, all you need to do, because it's super easy, just click Open Docs, and then scroll down a little bit where it says Start a chat with a Botfather, and click the Botfather link. Or you can skip all that and just go directly to telegram.me/Botfather. When you get there, click Open Telegram Desktop, or if you don't have the desktop application, just do the same thing on your phone, and you can do all of that on your phone anyway. I suggest you do it on desktop because we're going to have to copy the API key, sorry, the access token that we're going to use. Okay, so go to Botfather and add the / to see a list of commands, and you're going to see the new bot. So type this command /new bot, or just click it. And then it's going to ask a name for your bot. You can add any name. This is going to be the name that's going to appear in the conversation. So it doesn't have to be a unique name. So let's name it Chuck Botris. Okay, and now we have to choose a username. So let's name it, and the username has to end in bot. So let's name it Helpful Demo Bot. This is going to be used, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, that's cool. All right, then you have to use, when it says use this access token, you have to copy this. So let's copy this, copy selected text, and go back to n8n and paste this access token in, and then click save. Wait a little bit until this testing dialog finishes, and you should get a connection tested successfully message. So go back and make sure your new credential is selected, and then go back to Telegram and click the first link which says done, congratulations on your new bot. You can find it at, click this link so you can start a conversation with your bot, and then click start. And that starts the bot. This is the initial message of the bot. Now, if you click execute step, you will see that we will get the text/start, which is the first message that we sent. If we execute the step again, it's going to start listening for new events, which means that we can, let me make this smaller so I can show you at the same time. Is this fine? Okay, so we can say hi, and this will send another event that's going to just say hi. Okay, so we have our trigger ready. Now let's send a voice message and see what we get, because now we got a text, but if we send a voice message, we are gonna get a file. So let's go back to Telegram and click on the voice messages and say something like, okay, this is a test for the YouTube tutorial on how to create a Telegram bot, and then connect it on ClickUp and click send. If we execute again, you see that instead of text, we got a voice object, and inside it has the duration, the file ID, and other useful stuff. What we want to do is we want to pin this data, because for a while we're just gonna deal with the voice message, so we don't want to rerun the trigger every time that we click execute workflow. Then click the plus icon, search for Telegram again, and choose get a file. This will use the file ID that we just got. So if you just take this file ID and drag and drop it where it says file ID, and make sure that the download trigger is on, if we execute it, you will see that we get the file. Sometimes it might be a good idea to add the MIME type as well. 9 times out of 10, Telegram is just going to send this. I had some rare occurrences that I had a different MIME type, and this got a little bit weird. I think they fixed it last year, this problem. I have never used this. I have never, this problem has never occurred to me for the past 14 months or something. It just might be a good idea to include the MIME type as well. So we're going to click execute step, and as you can see on the output, we got our data. We got a data object. If you see the JSON, we just have an ID and some other stuff, and we have a file path which is relative to n8n. But if you click binary and you click view and say something like, okay, this is, as you can see, we can hear our voice message directly. All right, so we got our voice message, and let's rename this get voice message, so we know what's happening. Next, we're gonna search for OpenAI, and thankfully, OpenAI has a node that says transcribe a recording, which is very, very useful. And not only that, it allows, this node gets a binary file. So we downloaded the binary file directly from Telegram, and then we're just gonna feed this binary file to OpenAI. So everything is streamlined very, very conveniently. Small problem, it says OpenAI API limits the size of the audio up to 25 megabytes. So this is something that's super important. We cannot use this flow for production because OpenAI limits the size of the audio file to 25 megabytes. And with 25 megabytes, we will not be able to have very, very large recordings. Actually, let's go find exactly how large recordings we can get with just 25 megabytes. So think about it. Wait, how large was this? For 14 seconds, we have 53 kilobytes. And let's not solve the mathematical equation on our own. Let's just go to ChatGPT and say, if a recording that's 14 seconds is 53 kilobytes, and I have a 25 megabyte limit, how long recordings can I upload? Give me an estimate. And let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Okay, see, remember, the reason that we're doing this is because we also want to know if this project is going to be feasible and how hard it's going to be, so we can come up with a price. And this is very important because we're getting an estimate. You can upload about 112 minutes, so 1 hour and 52 minutes. Let's round it down to be safe to 1.5 hours. So we would say to the client, hey, how long are your meetings gonna be? They're gonna be about 30 to 45 minutes. Great, if they're gonna be 30 to 45 minutes, we can just use OpenAI and use this simple workflow. But if they tell you that they want the recordings to be much longer, for example, they have 2 or 3 or 4 hour meetings, then you need to be aware that you will probably need to come up with a more complicated solution, and usually more expensive solution, because chances are that you're going to need to bring into play some other external API like Fireflies or Otter or any transcription API. For demo purposes, 1 hour is more than enough. We just need to send maybe maximum a minute of a voice message. So this is going to be super useful just for the demo purposes, which is fine for us. Make sure the operation is not translate or generate audio, it's just transcribe the recording. On the options, this is useful if the audio is not English, because it saves OpenAI from the trouble of recognizing the language. So if the audio is not English, so if it was Greek or something, we should add it here. I'm gonna add English just for, just to be thorough. If your recording is in another language, make sure to include it here and then click execute step. Okay. Invalid parameters, language must be specified in ISO. Oh, the problem is that we don't have the ISO format for the language, and let's go grab it. So ISO format for English, let's ask ChatGPT, because I don't remember. I think it's en/US or something. Oh, no, my bad. It's just en. Okay, that's fine. So German would be something like DE, Spanish would be this, Italian would be this, Greek would be this. Let's just go with English. Oh, and also, if I click execute now, I'm going to get an error because I have the wrong credential. I'm just going to execute it so you can see it. What happened? Oh, I thought it was an invalid credential on OpenAI. If this is an invalid credential, you're going to get an error again. But it seems like I could swear that I deleted this credential before. Apparently not. Okay, who cares? As you can see on the output, I get a transcription of this recording. This is exactly, this is a test for the YouTube tutorial on how to create a Telegram bot and connect it on ClickUp. This first part of the message, if we go back to the recording and hear it, you will see that the message starts with this phrase, because as I was talking to the camera, I clicked the recording, so it started recording before this part. And let's hear it again. Messages and say something like, okay, this is a test for the YouTube tutorial on how to create a Telegram bot and then connect it on ClickUp. Okay, that's perfect. Before we go to next steps and explain how we're going to upload all of this to ClickUp, we need to do something else. Let's go back to the trigger and unpin the data, because we might have a problem. The voice object is only there if we send a voice message. So if we click execute step and send a normal message, so if we send a normal message, the voice object is not going to be there, which means that the next step is going to fail. So we need to branch our execution depending on whether we got a voice message or any other message. So we're going to add an if branch. And actually, no. We're going to add a switch branch. And if, let me think about it. You know what? Sorry, let me send a voice message again, so we have our voice object, so we can drag and drop it easily. Click execute, go back to Telegram. Whoops. Send a very short voice message. Okay, now we have our voice object. I'm gonna pin the data again, go back to suites, and drag this object to the routing rules. From here, select object, and if it exists, we're gonna rename the output to voice. Okay. Also, we would add another output in case nothing gets selected. And what this will do, what happened? Oh, okay. So what this is going to do is if the message we got is a voice message, it will get to this branch that is a voice message. If it's anything else, it will go to the fallback branch, and we're going to decide what to do with it later. The reason I'm using suites is because you might want to have other routing rules. For example, we might want it to add text from before, and if the text exists, this is going to be text message. Okay. Oh, by the way, it's only going to be voice message if the MIME type is audio OGG, because if the MIME type was a video, we wouldn't want to process it. So on the voice message parameters, let's see if we can add, let's if we go inside the expression and open it up so you can see a little bit more what's happening, and add this icon. This is the JavaScript way to say and. So instead of saying this condition and another condition, actually no, this is not correct. How can we add? No, now that I think about it, we don't need to do any of that because the object is called voice. So I assume if we send a video, we're gonna get a different type of object. So never mind, we don't need to do this. Just delete everything. Okay, so if we go back, you will see that we now have 3 branches. So one for voice message, one for text message, and for now we only want to deal with the voice message. And now if we execute the node, you will see that the output is voice. We have no text output and no fallback output. Let's go and unpin the data and execute the workflow again. And now if we send a text message, you will see that it got inside the text message branch and not inside the voice message. Okay, which is perfect. This is exactly what we needed. Let's execute the workflow again, and let's send another voice message that would be easier to process. Our next step is going to be processing the transcription and trying to create a ClickUp task. So let's send a useful voice message close to what we would say on the demo. For today, we have 2 tasks. The first task is to figure out the proposal we're going to send to the client, and the second task is to finish the project for the client that we signed last week. Just be careful. The second task also has other subtasks, because to finish the project for our last client, we need to finish the design and complete the website. And let's click send. And as you can see, it transcribed the recording. Now let's select everything and pin everything together. You can do that by selecting everything and clicking the P button. This is another reason that hotkeys are useful. Otherwise, you would have to just go inside every node and pin it individually. But right now, we did it all together just with a hotkey. Oh, let's open the transcribe recording and see what it did. So it says, for today, we have 2 tasks. The first task is to figure out blah, blah, blah. Okay, this seems great. Now, the next step is to figure out a way to connect everything to ClickUp and upload everything to ClickUp. This is going to be a little harder to do because creating one task on ClickUp is easy, but creating multiple tasks is not. So first we're going to try, and I'm going to do all of this live. So if the first way fails, you will see it. But the first thing that comes to mind is to create an AI agent and give it ClickUp as a tool. I have never done this before, so let me see if it's possible. Let's go to ClickUp, And it seems that there is a ClickUp tool, and that means that we can give this tool to an agent. So this tool is a tool for an agent. And it seems that it can create tasks, and on options, is there an option for subtasks? I'm not sure. You know what? We're gonna figure it out. Let's delete this and let's go to AI, OpenAI, create an assistant. No, sorry. Let's go to AI and click AI agent, and we will name this ClickUp agent. Now for our ClickUp agent, instead of using the source, the connected chat trigger node, we're gonna use the define below option and create our message. So for our user message, we're gonna click transcription, and then we're gonna drag and drop the transcription of the message, which is gonna be this. As you can see, this will be the final result, transcription, and then the transcription that we got from our previous node. All right, perfect. Now on options, we need to add a system message. And we're gonna say you are an intelligent and helpful ClickUp assistant tasked with creating ClickUp tasks based on the transcription of recording. Then we would need to define rules, but the rules would be specific to what the client wants exactly, and based on this original message, we don't have a lot of information. So maybe the only information that we have is who is speaking, but we have no way of knowing that during the transcription. So instead, we're just gonna say, make sure to create subtasks when possible, and also use the ClickUp tool whenever you want to create something in ClickUp. This should be fine, but before we run it, we need a chat model. So we're gonna go to OpenAI. Since we already have it connected, we can use anything that we want. You don't need the chat model that we're using for our agent does not need to be the same that the one that we use for the transcription. So we don't have to use OpenAI here, but I am going to use it because I already have the credentials set up. And we're going to use ChatGPT Mini and see how far it gets us. And on tool, we are going to click ClickUp and add the ClickUp tool. All right, perfect. And I already have a credential, but it's super easy to create a new credential. All you have to do is click create new credential and then just connect your account. And this will open a ClickUp panel, and you will connect your account. Actually, let's just do this. Click connect my account, and this dialog will open up, and all you need to do is select your workspace. I only have one workspace, so it just says connect workspace. And if it says the connection is successful, congratulations, you have a ClickUp connection. It's easy as that. And this is named ClickUp account, so we're just going to use it here. Now, the next thing is we need to, on the tool description, we're going to use set automatically. On the resource, we're going to select task. Is there any way to select subtasks? I'm not sure. No, so we're just going to select task. The operation is going to be create. I don't think we have to create, we will never have to update tasks, so we just need to create them. Okay, let's see if we need any other options. Oh, okay, this is my bad. I forgot to select, the reason that says error fetching options from ClickUp tool is not because we fucked something up on the credential. It's because on the team name, I didn't select anything, and I did this off screen. I was actually trying to figure out if I made a mistake during the integration part, but it turns out I didn't. Okay, so on ClickUp, I'm gonna create a new list, and inside here on the team name, I'm gonna choose my team's name, and then the space name, for me, it's just team space. And then the list is going to be, if I refresh it, is it the folder? Oh, if the list is not inside the folder and mine is not inside the folder, Inside the folder would be if I created a folder and then I put the list inside this folder. So as you can see, I can select a folder and the folder is going to be test, and then I can select the list inside that folder, but we don't want to do that. So I'm going to delete the folder again and go to list and click folderless list and select our list. We're going to rename the list to test list, then go back to n8n and make sure to refresh, and I'm going to get the correct name. So the name of the task needs to be decided automatically from, this is the name of the task, right? This needs to be automatically decided by the model. And to do that, we need to change this to expression, add the JavaScript expression, and click from AI, and the key is going to be task name. Okay. For additional fields, we would need to specify the additional fields for this list. So let's save our workflow a little bit and go back and create the fields that we need. Let's make the name a little bit shorter, and let's see what fields we need. We need the owner, which is the person that created it. We need the due date, any other fields, and checklists. Okay, so basically we need to create a task that's gonna have a due date. Okay, and then inside that task we would need to add a checklist. So this is how it has to look like. Okay, let's go back to n8n. Let's open our ClickUp tool, and on the additional fields, is there anything that says description? I'm wondering. No, there is not. Okay, apparently this ClickUp tool is not as advanced as I thought. For the content, we're just gonna click, first we're gonna add content. Content is probably the description, and you know what? Let's copy this format exactly. Task name. Is this better? Why doesn't it let me? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Let's just leave this like this. On the content, we will just gonna click this magic icon button. This button basically does the same thing as this, but in an easier way, because now it allows you to add a description. And the description is gonna be the description of the task. Include as much information as possible. This will instruct the AI on what exactly to create inside here. And then we're gonna click add field, gonna select the due date, and this is going to be the due date of the task. If you don't have a due date, set it to tomorrow. And in order to do that, we need the current date to be, oh, apparently we cannot set an expression here. Well, that's fine. Let's see what it does if we set it relative to today. So this should add a due date of the task if we have it, and if we don't have it, set it to tomorrow. And we don't need any other fields for now. All right, let's run the agent and try to see what it's gonna do. Okay, it used the ClickUp task. I see that it used the ClickUp task twice, now 4 times. That's a little bit concerning. I'm wondering why. Is this an infinite loop? Oh no, okay. Let's see what it created. All right, let's go back, and it created figure out the proposal sent to the client. That's one of the tasks. And for some reason, the due date was this. This is unfortunate because this is probably because I set it for tomorrow. Let me delete the task I created. This is because I set it for tomorrow. What happened? Okay, let's figure out what happened, because it created 6 tasks and it should have created 6 tasks. Our recording has one task is figuring out the proposal we're going to send the client. The second task is finishing the project for the client that we signed last week. Then we have a third task, because to finish the project for the client, we have to finish the design, that's the third task, and complete the website, that's the fourth task. It created 6 tasks, so let's figure out what went wrong. Finish the project for the client, that's nice. Figure out the proposal to send, so that's the second. Finish the design, that's the third. Complete the website for the project signed last week, that's the fourth. Make complete okay. So the tool didn't know how to create subtasks. Is there an option on our ClickUp tool to create subtasks? I wonder. Maybe on the resource, is there a subtask? No. Task list, task dependency. No, but there is a checklist. Okay, so we're gonna do this. First of all, we're gonna delete all that, and let's try to fix all the issues one by one. First, we're gonna delete that. So we're gonna delete everything from ClickUp, and then we're gonna go to our agent, and we're gonna give him the current date. So if we give the current date, it should know what tomorrow means. So if we execute this again, this time we should get better due dates, and the due date will actually be tomorrow, not last year. I'm gonna pause the recording until it's finished, and then I'm gonna come back. Oh, actually it's finished now. Now it only created 4 tasks, so it's not deterministic. And as you can see, the due date is tomorrow. So the first problem is fixed. Now let's see if we can create checklists instead of subtasks. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go back to tools and create another ClickUp tool. And this time under a resource is going to be checklist. So for the task ID, we're gonna let it define it automatically. And for the name, we're just gonna do the same thing as before. We're gonna mark it as an expression and say from AI checklist name. So this is going to be, you know what, let's rename this, create task, create checklist, and then we're going to need a third tool, ClickUp tool, and this time the resource is going to be checklist item. So the checklist ID is going to be decided automatically, and the name is going to be again from AI checklist item. And if you're one of the people that are like me, you would be annoyed that before I used double quotes and now I used single quotes. I'm just gonna fix it so you don't go crazy. On the additional field, we have only the assignee ID and we don't care about that. Let's see, and maybe add a description on the checklist ID. Use the ID of the checklist you created using the create checklist. And we're going to rename this to create checklist item. Okay. So we have create task, create checklist, and create checklist item. Let's go back to our system prompt and make sure to let it know that it has this, it has access to these tools. When you think you need to create a subtask, create a checklist inside the task. Instead, you can use, you can use the create checklist tool to create a checklist, and then the create checklist item tool to create checklist items. And this should be fine. So let's save this. Let's go back to ClickUp and delete everything. And also I'm gonna refresh the page. You see, yeah, I don't know if you managed to see it, but I have one task that I didn't delete. So I'm gonna delete it now. I'm gonna go back to n8n and start the agent and see what happens. So it's using ChatGPT, and then it's creating a task, and now it's creating a checklist, and now it should create a checklist item, or two checklist items to be exact, which is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. I have very good feelings for this. Now, the first task is figure out the proposal to send the client, and the second is finish the project for the last client. And if we open this, you will see that we have a description, complete all necessary work, blah, blah, blah. And inside here, we have two checklists, complete the website and finish the design. All right, this is actually amazing. I didn't expect it to work so well, so fast. Last thing that we need to do is maybe forward that output back to Telegram. So we're gonna use Telegram, and then we're gonna send a message, send a chat action, no, send a text message. And on the chat ID, we're going to go back to the Telegram trigger, and under chat, we're gonna use the ID. And for our text, we're just gonna use the output of our text. Why is this? This shouldn't be red. I don't know why it's red. Let's execute it. Using the item method doesn't work with pin data in the scenario. Please unpin, transcribe a message and try again. Unpin transcriber recording. An expression here won't work because it uses the item and then it can figure out the matching item. The node transcriber recording. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's because we use the Telegram trigger and n8n doesn't know exactly which output to use. So I imagine that if instead of this, we use the output from the switch, this would probably be fine. Is it? No. This shouldn't happen. I'm confused. Okay, what if we do something else? What if inside here we click data transformation and then edit fields, and then we forward all the fields that we want to use. So inside here, we're gonna forward the chat ID. Oh no, it's red here as well. You know what? That doesn't really matter. Let me connect it again, and we're just gonna unpin everything anyway and just do a full demo run. Okay. What if we execute the step? Okay, never mind. Let's just execute it from the beginning. I don't know why it had this error, and honestly, I don't want to debug this right now. If we unpin the data and we run everything again, it should be fine. So let's execute the workflow. And now it's waiting for the trigger event. So let's go back to Telegram and send a voice message. Okay, so we just met with the client and they decided to move forward with the project. So we need to do a few things. We need to create a proposal for them, and then we need to create a demo, and then we need to make sure that the accounting department is up to date with everything. Just a quick little note, to actually create the demo, we need to ask for the client for specific requirements, and we also need to contact Sarah from the design department and make sure she's available to do the work. Okay, and as you can see, it's transcribing the recording, and now we're going back to ClickUp. We're creating tasks, and we're creating a checklist, and then we're gonna create a checklist items probably. All right. And then we're gonna get back a message that says, I have created a task named ClickUp project follow-up. with a checklist, client progress list, blah, blah, blah. And it has all these items. Is there anything else that you would like to add? And that says this message was automatically sent with n8n. If you don't want this, you can go to additional fields and there should be the append n8n attribution, and we can turn this off. If we turn this off, we will not have this message was sent automatically with n8n. Just something extra for you there as a tip. Okay, let's go to ClickUp. We didn't delete the previous tasks, so we're gonna have them. Let me refresh the page to make sure we have the up-to-date information. You know what? Let me add a new field that's created, the date created. Is there any way to edit this? I want to see the time created. What if we sort it? Which one did we create first? So this is sort from latest to earliest. So probably we just created this two, right? I'm a little bit confused. Let's go to Telegram. It says I created task name client project follow-up. Oh, okay. So it created this task, and inside this task it says update the account department, create a proposal for the client, ask client for specific requirements, and contact Sarah from the design department to check availability. So it did everything that it was supposed to do. All right, that's perfect. So we have everything that we need. Now this workflow is finished because it's more than enough for a demo. However, if you want to extend this workflow, there are a few things that you could do. For example, you can include text messages. So maybe we could send something like delete the task that you made, and then this would go back to another agent that would have access to other ClickUp tools like delete a task or update a task, and we would be able to manage our ClickUp directly from Telegram. This is a little bit of an overkill because if you want to manage your ClickUp tasks, then just go to ClickUp, and it definitely will not be useful for a demo. The main feature that we want to, feature for the client is sending voice messages, because this particular client brief that we got, if you go back to Skool and remember what was happening, this says phone record, transcribe, LLM, n8n, ClickUp API, task maps to tasks and subtasks. We didn't use subtasks, but we used checklist, so that's fine as well. We could extend it to use subtasks, but we would have to create our own ClickUp tool. And the way to do this would be to create a workflow in n8n that would get the input that we needed it. And this workflow would create subtasks for a given task. And then we would connect this workflow to this agent as a workflow tool. But this is all very complicated for a demo. This is more than enough. And it's something useful that you can create for a client in just 20 minutes. Obviously, it took me longer than that because I had to explain every step. But if I did it on real time by myself without stopping to explain every step, this would probably take me around 20 minutes or so. And there is no way any other freelancer or agency on Upwork or on emails bothered enough to send a demo like this. So I'm now going to record a demo. And this is what I would actually send to the client if I had them. So I'm going to record a demo with my phone, and this concludes today's n8n tutorial. Okay, now it's time for one final test for the workflow, and for that, I will act like I'm doing both sides of a natural live meeting conversation, and it will just be a very short message saying the AI to create two tasks basically. So let's see if it can handle more complex workloads. I will execute the workflow, and I'm gonna send a voice message on Telegram. So, all right, before we finish, can you jot down a couple tasks for next week? Yeah, sure. What do we have? First, create a website update for Coca-Cola, and let's add a few subtasks. First, replace the homepage hero image with the one I created last week. Second, update the pricing page with the latest numbers from the Excel sheet. And finally, test the mobile version for responsiveness. All right, got it. What's the second one? Well, the second task is to prepare a client proposal for Nike and include the updated case study, adjust the pricing section, and add some examples as we discussed. Boom, and now I send it. So we go back to n8n, and as you can see, the workflow is executing. The workflow is done and we got back a response. Let's see it from desktop, and says, I have created the following tasks. It created one task and a second task with a checklist. So let's go to ClickUp and see our two tasks. The second one, which was a simpler one, was prepare a client proposal for Nike. And as you can see, instead of creating a checklist, it added those items inside the task. But for the first one, it did create a checklist because we numbered them, and it says it has 3 items in the checklist: test the mobile version for responsiveness, updating the pricing page, and replace the homepage hero image with the one created last week. And for all of them, it added a due date, and everything is working fine. This is it. Now we have a workflow that starts from a Telegram trigger and uses AI to transcribe an audio message, and then an AI agent to create automatically all the tasks that we need on ClickUp. And all that is bundled together in a very convenient and easy to share demo for the client of my student. Think about it. For only $49 per month, this student gets a functional demo to share with her client tomorrow. And not only that, but if you join the community, we guarantee that you will land this first AI client within 60 days. We will give you as much feedback as possible, all the resources that you need. We will guide you on live calls, and we guarantee that you will sign this first AI client within 60 days. And if you don't, you get all your money back, full refund, no questions asked. I don't want your money if I can't help you. And I think this is a fair deal. All right, thank you for watching. If you want more n8n and business tutorials, just subscribe and keep an eye out for the next video. Bye.